Breaking news, DraftKings just dropped Masters tournament first contest, $20 millionaire maker, 205.8 thousand people.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, won't be putting anything near that. But
yeah, I could tell, Roger, that is definitely not your event. What do you call it? The cash game centric, right?
that would be the general gist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, Jimmie, that's all you.
Unless I win a qualifier for 25 cents, I will not be entering that as well. Speaking of which, I've got an interesting lineup conundrum here. So a buddy of mine asked me, he's putting in like 60, 65 bucks, maybe 70 bucks this week. And he asked me, because we've got a $4, an $8, and a $44, and then you got the $12 albatross. So he always enters the $12, so he's going to enter that. And then he wants to know, should he enter another like $40 to $50 either in all $4, all $8, or like one $44 entry. So I did the math for it real quick, and like your best odds, obviously, with just two entries are the $44 and the $12 albatross. Would you rather try and do like two billets like that, or would you rather have like 10 of the $4 or 5 of the $8? Just a quick poll for you guys. What do you think?
I mean, I'd rather have more lineups, but if he can create two very strong lineups, or one very strong lineup and put it in both those contests, why not?
Yeah, I personally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the listener league last week. And then I had a couple glasses of wine, ended up playing Sam Saunders in the albatross. So, you know, I mean, it's what I think it's pretty safe to say that you're asking the wrong person.
Fair point. I mean,
I think Roger's the person to ask.
Well, the reason I bring it up is I think probably a lot of our listeners are kind of in that dollar range, right? I don't think our listeners are multi-entry guys. I think that's probably like a roughly, that's probably a normal amount, probably right under $100 that people enter, across exposures. And I just thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah, last week I was on vacation from teaching, so it was just one of those things where I was doing a million different things, running around doing stuff, and just didn't get a chance to sit down and build my usual 20 lineups. So I just sort of stuck with that. But Raj, I would be curious to hear your take on that, sort of deciding between those choices.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'd have to preface it by saying that I would be rolling 80% cash here, so back it up off that and make sure your roll is high enough for that whatever $44 you got going to be buoyed by a nice little $100 and something cash spend to balance it out. But all things equal, it really depends on the size of the contest. I mean, yes, it can be nice to have more lineups, and it does tend to be more effective when you can cover more squares, especially if you're playing a really core aggressive strategy, which is what we tend to do. I mean, I will roll probably this week. I'll probably roll three guys at least 100% in GPP. Like, without question. I don't care if they withdraw. I don't care if they miss the cut. There is no cut, but I don't care what happens to them. I don't care if they die.
That is a strong take, sir.
if they contend, or I care if they die. I love them, but if they contend or win or finish dead fucking last, I'd rather have all of them than none of them at all. But
I agree 100% with that. With your 100%,
you could make a really interesting argument, though, that at the same time that the reduced field size does up your odds with a more conservative strategy in the larger entry GPPs in terms of the dollar amount. So it's kind of a balancing act. I would say on a week like this with no cut, though, where your selection edge is a little bit diminished as compared to one where you feel like you're going to be able to roll a more conservative strategy that rewards post-cut action. You probably are better off having more lineups to diversify in the smaller entry, just because you are going to want to take a little bit more risk than normal around your core. So I'd probably opt for the more entries in the smaller one. Although, what I probably would do is max out the dollar, max out the quarter arcade, and try to max out the $2 with your spend, so you can have a huge number of lineups, like 60, as opposed to just like 10. That way you're covering a lot of squares, you have a lot of equity, and even though the payout might not be as large, you're guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but you're more likely to get a better but significant return than trying to shoot for the moon.
Right.
That sounds very measured. We're trying to win hundreds of thousands of dollars here.
I'm like, Roger, you clearly never listen to us because, like, I talked Jimmie into 20 lineups for the fucking hole-in-one contest last week. That was like whatever that was.
Yeah. All I had to do was mention that it existed, and all of a sudden I had 20 of my dollars invested in there. It was almost instantaneous.
Before we finished the show, he had already max entered it, so it was
before we finished that pricing
something to watch. Real quick before we hit the 8K guys too, Raj, I was curious to also get your take. I know obviously you do the cash stuff, but how much weekend action do you ever do? And is it different on a no cut week, or something never ever?
0 weekend action, except in one particular case, or 2 particular cases, which is in the 3-round cut events.
Right.
Then I'll take weekend stabs on Saturday, Sunday, because there are people who take way too much risk near the cut line with guys, with possibly having one less round of action because the cut's Saturday. Right. So I will take stabs on those weekends, maybe for a little cash action, because I think I can insulate myself and be sure I'm going to get 6 of 6 post weekend cut. But no, I don't really like the idea of just going on pure score base for the weekend. I think that maybe if you delved into it, you may have some edge if you really, really committed to it, but I don't have time to think about that. Yeah. And I think the edge would be very minimal compared to what I think I have playing with, a full 4 rounds of volume to see what happens. Just 2 rounds of golf. I mean, anything can fucking happen. I mean, that's anything can happen in 4 rounds, but really anything can happen in 2. A gust of wind could come up and, cause your guy to triple, quadruple out, and then you're fucked. So, I mean, it just all depends. But I prefer the 4-round format.
I kind of figured that was your answer. And I always tell myself, like, oh, maybe there's an edge and maybe I'll do this. And I think I've maybe ever built like 3 weekend lineups in like my entire ever playing DraftKings since they started doing it. So, I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you